Stacks and Pours. Hello again, stackers, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Stacks and Pours. This is the place where we like to talk about all things metal. My name is Shrek, and I'll be your host for the duration of this video. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to encourage you to smack the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, so that way you can get all of my new videos delivered right to your inbox. And if you wanted to give me a thumbs up at the end of this video, that would make my day. So what is the purpose of the video? Well, I could tell you that the purpose is not to give you any financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and therefore nothing I say should be taken as financial advice. The purpose of this video, then, is just to give you another avenue for your stacking needs that almost nobody thinks of. At least not that they talk about. The order of this video is as follows. First, I'm going to tell you the place. Then I'm going to tell you a personal story on how I've utilized this place to find silver for my stack. And then I'm going to give you some tips for dealing with the people who work there. All of this comes from firsthand experience, so keep that in mind. So what is this magical place I've scored tons of junk silver at that almost nobody thinks about when looking for silver? Antique stores. We've all shopped at pawn shops before. We've all shopped at local coin stores. We've all gone roll hunting from the banks with moderate to no success. And of course, we've all used the big boys and girls like Atmex, JM Bullion, SD, and the others. But I've never heard anyone talk about antique shops. Now, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe my scores were nothing more than flukes. But I have scored a good amount of junk silver at prices I'd consider a steal shopping inside antique stores. The main reason why I think I've had luck in some antique stores, though certainly not all of them carry coins when I go, so keep that in mind. But the reason why I think I've had luck is because the owner of the antique store, while they know a lot about antiques in general, they aren't necessarily into coins as much. Or they're not necessarily numismatists or numismatists, or however you pronounce it. A numismatist, by the way, in layman's terms, is basically just someone who is really into and knows a lot about coins. Antique dealers know a lot about antiques, don't get me wrong. They know enough to be able to run a store, but aren't likely keeping up with the spot prices. They're not keeping up with the current premiums. They're not keeping up with the going rates on certain coins. The local coin stores, the pawn shops, and the big bullion dealers obviously do. But an antique dealer also has to sell other things like teapots in China, and machines, and old cameras, and I don't even know, so much other stuff. It's nearly impossible for them to know all this stuff. It's impossible for them to keep up with the fluctuations in price as much as we are. Now, I'm not saying you should go in there and rip these people off. They're business owners and they deserve to be treated fairly too. But you can certainly find fair prices to trade your cash for your constitutional silver if they happen to have any in stock. I'm going to share an experience that I've had with you in a moment. But as with all things, the first event of something stands out in your mind, while the other subsequent instances of a similar event don't necessarily stand out to you, and you may not remember them. So what I'm trying to say here is that I've had multiple scores from a few different antique stores, but I can't remember the specifics on any of them but the first one. So that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Then right after I drop these knowledge nuggets, as I like to call them, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you've liked what I've said so far. So make sure you're prepared for that. Anyway, so I was walking around a small town in northern New Jersey called Chester one Mother's Day morning. There are tons of antique shops there. Well, there used to be. I don't know if they're still there because things change and antiques aren't as popular as they used to be. And it's been a good 10 or so years since I've been there. If you are in Chester or have been to Chester recently, please comment below if there are still antique stores around. But I was walking around town with my wife and little girl. I always like going into these stores because you just never know what you're going to find. And I grew up in antique stores. Plus, being that I was a newer stacker, I had my eyes open for some silver, just in case. After walking around the store a few different times, I saw some things that caught my eye. I have a bottle collection, and I collect odd things here and there. I was about to leave because I didn't really see anything that I was into, and I thought I'd check the glass cases one more time just to see what the old-timer had in there. And I'm glad I did, because sitting inside one of the cases was an antique bowl filled with constitutional, also known as junk, silver. These silver coins, by the way, in case you weren't sure, are those minted by the U.S. government up to 1964, with the exception of nickels and pennies. Though there were a few years' worth of nickels that were a percentage of silver. We could talk about those in a future video, though. But the dimes, quarters, half dollars, and silver dollars, up until that point, up until 1964, are comprised of 90% silver. And that's what I'm talking about when I say junk or constitutional silver. This bowl had silver Roosevelt dimes. It had Liberty Walkers, and it had other denominations in it as well. But it was mostly Roosevelt dimes and Liberty Walkers. In fact, while I don't have most of the collection anymore because I was forced to sell after some financial hardship and my savings had run out, I did have to sell most of that silver. But I did keep some of the Walkers because I really liked the Walking Liberty half dollars. And in fact, that picture at the top of my YouTube channel comes from one of those original coins I traded my paper bills for all those years ago. They're my favorite coins. Anyway, I can't remember what I ended up paying for those coins because it was so many years ago. But what I can say with certainty is that is the feeling that I remember having. I had the feeling of just being ecstatic because I got such a great deal on these junk silver coins. Now, as a disclaimer, I do want to say that not all antique stores are going to carry coins, but some do, and others will get them in from time to time. So it really can't hurt to check. One of the best aspects about dealing with an antique store is that they're usually willing to negotiate on price, and it can't hurt to ask if they would take less for an item. So if there is a bowl of junk silver and the price is such and such for a dime and such for a half, ask how much he would charge for the whole bowl. You just get a better deal this way. You could also haggle with the person a different way, saying, would you take this much money for the whole bowl? Because there are this many coins. Once you know what he's looking to get. As a side note, it also can't hurt to ask if they have any other coins for sale, either on-site or off-site, that you can look at. You just never know what these old-timers are going to have. He may have a pre-1933 gold coin that he never thought about selling before. Maybe he didn't know where to sell it. Maybe he just needs the extra money. Who better to buy it than you? If you're in the market. Gold is gold, in my opinion. If he does have some, you can offer to come back at a later date. But I would still buy the ones that you're looking at right then and there, if he does have some there. And they're a good price for you, obviously. Reason being, you don't want to agree on one price and then come back after he had the chance to do some research and it's suddenly twice as high because everyone on the interwebs is stating that there is a silver shortage. I come from a long line of antique dealers and can say that this will usually work regardless of what you're buying. The main reason why is because it's better for them to sell stuff and make room for more inventory and get some money rolling in than it is to sit on something not knowing when another buyer will come in for that same item. Especially if that something is so very small, sitting in a glass case that nobody ever looks in. And of course, always ask that person to call you first next time they get some coins in, some silver coins or gold coins, before calling anyone else. These are great people to develop a relationship with, much like your local coin store. And as an added benefit, you can have them call you, or you can have them give your number to anyone else who brings them silver coins who they don't want to buy from. So if somebody else brings in a silver coin or a few silver coins and says, hey, would you take these? If the antique dealer says, I don't really deal in those, but I know who does, and they hand them your number, that's a win-win for you. And that is a benefit of having and developing a relationship with that person. So that about does it for my story, and that about does it for my tips. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever scored some good silver coins at the local antique store? And if not, what was the strangest place you've ever found some stackable metals in? Please leave a comment below so we can help each other out. Thank you for watching, stackers. If you've liked what I've said in this video, please, again, hit that subscribe button and smack the heck out of that notification bell. Also, a thumbs up would help greatly, and even if a thumbs down if you disagreed with me, that would help me out too, because it tells me that I need to find different topics to talk about. So until next time, my friends, fatten that stack.